Hey, we're back at it again. The NFL Draft Tailgate Show here on November 21st, 2020. RIC in a place to be. Ric Serritella telling it like it is when it comes to the NFL Draft and everything football. Of course, going clockwise, we've got David Turner out in the heat of Arizona. Three-time three-peat champion with the Arena League, CFL Executive, longtime NFL scout with the Raiders, Panthers, Giants, Dolphins, of course, John Murphy down there. We got all kinds of rings and things today. Two-time Grey Cup champion, currently with the Toronto Argonauts, VP of Player Personnel, and of course, the MVP of our team here, Ryan Roberts, Director of Scouting, NFL Draft Bible, cranking it out in the film room. If you're a disciple and you subscribe to the NFL Draft Bible, then you know we're banging you and bopping you with all kinds of scouting reports, rankings, and Ryan's got a lot to do with that. So become a disciple today. It's a November to remember here. Familia 50, use the promo code and support the most reliable, longest serving, our 19th draft cycle here, independent scouting service. Of course, Samantha, my wife behind the scenes. Like I said on the tweet, I'm on the turntables today, 1 and 2, navigating all this draft knowledge here for you today. It's a college football pregame show with the NFL draft slant. So if it's your first time, buckle up, double chin strap kind of show. If you're not in the chat room, you need to get on it. We're on Periscope, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're out there on the social media world. So if you got a question, we've got answers. And we're going to go around the league here. Unfortunate news to start the show. Clemson and Florida State postponed. And they could not mutually agree on moving forward with the game. Apparently, a Clemson player tested positive on Friday, and Florida State just did not feel comfortable playing the game, whether that was due to COVID or due to the on-field results. Somebody's giving me some feedback, just an FYI there. And so that game is now postponed. So another game, unfortunately for Trevor Lawrence, won't get a chance to showcase his talents against the Seminoles defense. Justin Fields, however, will get a chance in a game of the week with Indiana, Ohio State. Of course, we'll talk about that one. A couple of ranked teams in action today. We'll get into some of the Senior Bowl invites and sprinkle that in as we go throughout. But we've got an all-star panel to toss around some names, and we'll get into some of the games on the docket today. But of course, some P5 action last night with Minnesota and Purdue, a controversial call there. Offensive pass interference. Ryan, I know you had mentioned you saw the play about 10 times already and just don't see it. So quick recap there, last night's game.
Yeah, so it was the tight end, number 87, was running a corner route. And he, there was some early contact in the rep. He kind of cleared it out a little bit, and it was a beautiful throw by Plummer. And I honestly, I watched it about 10 plus times, and I'm still wondering where exactly this pass interference call happened. The guy didn't even throw the flag until the very end, where there was zero contact at all. So I'm watching this, and I'm just, I don't see where the penalty is. I don't see how you can make the call in that juncture of the game and such an important play in the football game, and it negated what was a really nice. I mean, it was a back and forth game. It had a lot of entertaining elements. Rondale Moore's first game back, one of the top wide receivers in all of college football. David Bell had a great game, and it was just a shame again that this type of game, this quality of game, had to end in such awful fashion, because we're trying to find where the penalty is, but then also you negated everything, because then Purdue comes back and throws an interception on the very next play and the game's over. And it was just really tough to see such a great game end in this fashion.
Yeah, back and forth affair with Jack Plummer, Tanner Morgan, our guy Muhammad Abraham with another 100-yard rushing performance, trifecta, 3 touchdowns on the day. Rondale Moore coming out of the woodworks with 15 catches for $116. And of course, David Bell, the pride of Indianapolis, with the pair of touchdowns. He goes over the 100-yard mark. It's kind of funny, with Minnesota receiving all the hype, John. Purdue really with the more talent-laden team, the more NFL prospect envy team.
Well, and then to have your other quarterback go in and just go nuts. I mean, there were parts of that game where Plummer's 18 out of 20, 23 out of 25. An outstanding performance. And the bottom line is, if you are the Big Ten, show up today, tomorrow. You want to wait till Monday, show up, nut up at the office and admit you're incorrect. This group of guys should not referee a 5-year-old game in the future. Because all it is at the end of the play, he makes the catch. If you are telling me you're throwing a penalty for pass interference on what would only be a stiff arm after the catch, you are borderline mentally unstable. And that's being nice, because you have no way to look at that any other way than you have to come back and just say, we effed it up. Purdue should have won that game. Sorry, there's nothing we can do. And if I'm Purdue, I'm taking that all the way to the finish line, and either, to the point where I'm making them have to justify that call, because there's no way. Right now, I'm in for Minnesota to win last night. So, certainly I wasn't rooting for Purdue to do what they were doing there at the end. But you take that game out of the kids' hands. If this is anybody other than Jeff Brom, who is probably, he's seen it all, been around coaching, right? Daddy, brother and all that. If this is anybody else, they're still sitting there with a 7-second delay, this morning talking to the media. There's just no way to defend the actions of it. And it's a terrible look for them. And when you look, Minnesota needed that win. But you're talking about a Purdue team that just came off a tough loss, and now you kind of sealed their fate, in terms of their season, because they could have been 3-1, still in the mix if Northwestern loses a game, something happens, surprisingly today, in the rest of the Big Ten, so just a terrible look for a game that really, kind of picked up the pace and, was as fun to watch that game down the stretch as it was parts of that second half of, Tulane Tulsa the night before. So we've kind of seen some stuff now. Thursday and Friday, we saw a Hail Mary at the end, and then we see a 96-yard kick six, and then we see a game-winning touchdown that isn't, followed by a game-winning interception that was. Boy, you might just sound the alarm for the weekend, because it might just be that kind of weekend.
Get those sirens ready. I know David.
Oh, here we go. Rick loves those sirens.
Well, I tell you,
it's like Fireman Rick over there coming down the pole when those sirens are going off.
Well, there were some sirens in Louisville last night, because sound the alarms. Syracuse with the big donut, 30-0, getting spanked by the Cardinals there. This is the NFL Draft Tailgate Show every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We thank you for joining us here, brought to you by the NFLDraftBible.com. Oh, by the way, if you want a hard copy publication, we have good news, bad news. We're going to hit you with the good news next week. The bad news is, because of what's happening, the hard copy edition will be a very limited edition. If you've already subscribed All Access, if you already ordered your hard copy book, you're in the clear. But if you do want to reserve a copy of a limited edition, you've got to sign up within the next week. Otherwise, it goes away, and we'll explain why next week. But we're going to explain some of the top prospects here on the docket today, Saturday's matchups. We're going to go around the college football landscape here. And where's a better place to start than the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina, now number 15th in the nation. They take on Appalachian State, ESPN2, noon Eastern here. John, what do you got for us in this one?
Man, it's kind of the OG versus the new school. App State used to be App State's, territory. They were the kind of the little dog with the big bark. We all know what they did, that one day with Armani Edwards in Michigan. Here are the Chanticleers, who are on the radar. This team has played whoever they could get, whatever they've done, really with no blemishes. And it really starts at quarterback. Even though Crazen McCall's a young kid, 16 touchdowns, 1 interception, that's going to get you on the radar down the road. Probably their best pro prospect this year, undersized pass rusher, Teron Jackson. He gives you some good things, but he's kind of 6'2". He's kind of 260-ish. Can you convert him to a 3-4 backer? Is he going to be more of a rotational, defensive end at the next level? He does some good things. At times, what I really want to see is a more consistent player on an every down, basis there for him to kind of move himself from a late PFA type to for sure, being a draft pick. On the flip side, this is really, to me, a statement game if you're App State to kind of take your yard back, right? It's been nice. We still haven't figured out what exactly a Chanticleer is, but if it is some kind of bird, we're kind of a week before Thanksgiving. Hey, App State, take the Chanticleer behind the shed and end this, storybook season for us so we can get them out of the way. We don't need no Chanticleers in the top 15, all right? Get me a Wolverine, get me something with some teeth in it. Don't have the Chanticleers, for God's sake, playing in a real bowl game this year. So I'm looking forward. App State, you have the tradition, you have the history, show these guys, that, nobody wants teal, becoming the new thing, the in thing here in college football. I'm putting them on upset alert. Top 15.
Oh,
You're out this week. You're out
the
of
magic
15.
carpet right in.
You're out of the 15 here. App State, they got the history on their side, and go down there as the guys with the upperclassmen, do your thing. And I think Zach Thomas, they have Harrigan. They play very good on defense, they're as a team defense, right? They don't have any standouts, but they play really good team defense. And what they do have is two really good corners. And that can change the momentum of this game, if they're able to play inside, outside in terms of keep those big plays that they've been able to do, force them to be behind, right? If you're App State today, get up early, at least get up, if you can, cause a turnover, make a big play on special teams or defense. You use the upperclassmen and the factor that this is your undefeated season that's on the line at home. I like to see what happens if you're in a 4-quarter game, because Coastal Carolina's kind of had an easy flow here. And if they win, they got their side of the division pretty much locked up at this point, as they're undefeated, on their side. App State would have 1. The team behind them would have 2. 8-0 against 6-2. You're pretty much, locking yourself into that side, and, could get a Coastal Carolina, University of Louisiana kind of, rerun here.
We got our first siren of the day, the upset alert, Appalachian State Mountaineers. I'll tell you this, if they do win it out, Thomas Hennigan, the wide receiver there for the Mountaineers, a guy that we've written about in Scouting the Nation, he'll have something to say about that. So that one, again, ESPN 2 noon Eastern, Coastal Carolina hosting the Mountaineers. How about Liberty, Ryan, and the number 21 ranked team in the nation traveling into North Carolina State, looking to make a statement here. What a win this would be for Liberty to kind of push their way into that top 15 action.
Yeah, and it's obviously been a monumental year so far for Liberty with quarterback Malik Willis, Auburn transfer. He's got the dual threat ability. He's a guy that is firmly getting onto the radars. Talented passer, talented runner, leading the team in rushing. They also have a running back named Joshua Mack, who, if you go back a couple years, was actually a really dynamic running back at the University of Maine. And then he kind of went off the board a little bit. You didn't hear much about him. And then all of a sudden, he is now at Liberty as well, over 500 yards rushing this year. I know defensively, they have a guy that was on the NFLPA board, Ralph Razins. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I hope. Nose guard, big 6'5", 320-plus pounds. Kid, 7th round grade on the NFL Draft Bible board right now. So Liberty's got some guys, and they're going into this game, number 21 ranked, going into NC State, which is a very odd underdog situation here for NC State, who has Ali McNeil on the defensive line, who's a talented nose guard. He's got a little more quickness than you would consider for a usual zero tech that's going to play over the center the majority of the game. And then they have Emeke Emezi, the big wide receiver, who's kind of in a similar mold to Kelvin Harmon that came out a couple years ago. So I'm looking at this game. John gave us an upset alert by definition, right? The first game. I'm going to raise you another upset here. NC State takes down Liberty today. Just puts them back a little bit. Liberty's still a good football team. It's a great story, but they get their first loss of the season. Malik Willis goes down against NC State today.
Another upset alert. There we have it. You mentioned Aleem McNeil. I think potential 2-down guy at the next level, Emeka Emenzi. stepping his game up this year, making some plays in the red zone. We go over to the SEC now, where David Turner will be happy to know I'm not putting the Crimson Tide on upset alert today. By the way, Liberty at NC State is 7:30 tonight on ESPN3. The Alabama-Kentucky matchup will be on the SEC network at 4 p.m. Eastern. What do you got for us here, David Turner?
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody's got Alabama on the upset alert today. I mean, Mac Jones is playing out of his mind with his 210 passing efficiency. Najee Harris, has already scored 84 points this year. You're looking at, Devontae Smith on 56 receptions already. And on the other side of the ball, you got Christopher Allen with 2 sacks. I mean, Alabama's rolling in with the third best scoring offense, third best passing offense. Their rush defense is ranked 30th, which is interesting because this is where Kentucky can make a difference, I think. They have a talented running back in Azim Rose, and he is a guy with Terry Wilson at quarterback. They got the 37th best rushing offense, so this is a place where if Kentucky's going to have a chance, they need to run the ball at this defense and stay on the field on their offense, keeping the Alabama offense on the sidelines. If they don't do that, then Alabama is going to wind up rolling them up really early in this game, and it's going to get ugly. But I think Kentucky can stay in this game if they wind up, running the ball well behind Drake Jackson, and their linebacker Jamin Davis can get double-digit sacks or something, or double-digit tackles, I should say, and a sack in there. They'll have a chance. They'll really have a chance.
Yeah, and I think Alabama, with the Senior Bowl invites rolling out, Deontay Brown getting the call down to Mobile. It'll be interesting to see, does he play tackle? Does he play guard? Will they showcase him at both positions? I think there's a guy who could really benefit from the trip in Mobile. So the number one.
Also, I forgot to mention this guy, but this is the guy for Kentucky we really got to keep an eye on is Josh Alley. He's a leading receiver and punt returner. He's a playmaker. This is a kid who can break one on special teams today, which could be a key factor for Kentucky staying in this game.
And we'll see if the Wildcats can, keep it close here. If they can keep it a competitive game going into halftime, I think, like David said, run the ball, kill the clock, play some defense, see if you can give yourself to be within striking distance there going into halftime, and maybe we can come back and sound the sirens. You're tuned in to the NFL Draft Tailgate Show here on November 21st, 2020. Ric Serritella, David Turner, John Murphy, Ryan Roberts, taking you around the horn here on the college football landscape, breaking down the top prospects you need to know for some of the marquee matchups in the college football universe. And, we've got the Chanticleers, we've got the Liberty, what are they, the Flames, we've got number 1 Alabama. We're all over the map, and now we go over to Conference USA, where the Bearcats, number 7, keeping their college football playoff aspirations alive. We talked about it during the week on the State of Football, John. This could be maybe the final threat, the last hurdle, the final hump to get over for the Bearcats to run the table here. And listen, UCF can put up points with the best of them in terms of deep ball throws per game. I would imagine they lead the nation. And so you could get a high-scoring affair here with the Knights and the Bearcats.
Yeah, and a lot of nice matchups, not, both directly and indirectly, in the sense of, Desmond Ridder, and what he does. His passing has really, in the past 2 to 3 weeks, his ability to make some throws down the field kind of highlight the factor that he can be, more than just an athlete and, an athletic guy. His passing proficiency down the field has started to give him, a little headway there, I think, toward kind of polishing up, what kind of pro prospect, he could be seen as. Dylan Gabriel, for all intents purposes, is going to be the best stats that don't make it to New York for the Heisman. There he's already at about 2,400 yards. He's already at 23 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. There they have 3 receivers on any given week. Somebody's making a play. Most of the times it's Marlon Williams, but then they got 2 other guys that are averaging over 18 a catch. So you have that going for you. And then both of these secondaries are just loaded, with guys that are going to get evaluated for the next level. I mean, I've talked enough about Wiggins that I almost want to hand him the Thorpe, but then you have two corners at Cincinnati that both have 3 interceptions. Richie Grant has been their best DB at Central Florida, but then, the corner had kind of a higher grade going into the year, and they lost a guy who opted out who could have been as good or better than both of them. So you have an interesting, scenario there where both teams have started to make plays down the field, Cincinnati, and now you go against the best secondary they've faced pretty much to date. On the flip side, Cincinnati would say, bring it on. Like, we're ready for a matchup like this because we can line up and our 4 DBs are as good as anybody's in the country. We're prepared for a situation like this. So Cincinnati's kind of deal breaker here could be, Jared Dokes, and he is a kid that is very interesting when you project him to the next level. Not only is he their leading rusher, but he's also averaging 15 a catch. The thing that has kind of jumped out about him the most is his pass catching ability, and he's not a gizmo, he's not an all-purpose back, like little OJ Jr. over there, playing for Central Florida. He is a real full-size back, and a guy like Dokes, you might be surprised. I think we're going to be surprised that kid probably gets drafted north of a couple of other 1,000-yard, but just pure running back types that don't bring anything else to the game, come the draft time. But to me, if this became a 4-quarter real game, the most interesting part of this, unfortunately, goes back to something we talked about real early in the season. Cincinnati has tried 3 field goals and are 2 for 3. Central Florida is averaging about 60% field goal efficiency. We get into a close game here. Someone might be going wide left or wide right, and we don't want it to come to that. So get the touchdowns going here. This should be something in the 30s on both sides. But if you have one unit that could stand out, it's that Cincinnati has lived and died with developing this defense the way that they have. They do have a defensive unit that could slow down, create a turnover, right? They have about 12 interceptions, early 20 sacks, sack-wise. They play really good team defense as well. So if you're looking for an edge here, as much as Central Florida wants to put them on, upset alert, I got Cincinnati finding a way to win this game and at least hold them at bay. And it would probably be to, create a couple of turnovers, create some pressures, make Central Florida one-dimensional. And this is a real other Nucks opportunity, for Ritter to kind of take that next step again, build off of what you've done the last couple of weeks with the passing game, and Cincinnati gets over this hump and is still in the mix.
All right, so John, sticking with the Bearcats to remain undefeated. I see Ryan in the chat room putting the Bearcats on upset alert. So I'll toss it over to you quickly here, Ryan, because I got to give you kudos with the Jared Dokes. You put him on my radar a couple weeks ago saying, hey, have you seen this guy? And, does he get drafted? I don't know, because here's a guy who struggled with injuries his entire career. Now he's finally healthy, and he's running like Gus Edwards there between the tackles. So that's why, a guy that could go undrafted and outplay guys who do get drafted. But John, to his point, hey, Dokes could even get drafted, and the Bearcats could even lose this game despite a good performance from Jared.
Yeah, and I really, a lot of what John said, I think that there's more to Jared Dokes than just what you would traditionally look at as a power back. I think his feet are very solid. It's surprising how quick his feet are for 230 plus pounds. And then he has the contact balance. He has some receiving chops. I just think that there is more of a well-roundedness to your traditional 1 to 2 down plugger that is just going to get you the tough yardage. I think that he's got some traits to him that is very interesting. Now to your point, the injury side of everything, the durability concerns, what is the medicals going to look like for a guy like him? I'm looking at this game, though, and Cincinnati's a very good football team. They absolutely are. I just think that if it's going to happen, upset at UCF, I think this might be the day. UCF is a very talented team. Dylan Gabriel, they're going to let it fly. Only takes one or two miscommunications in that talented Cincinnati secondary to start playing from behind. And I do like Desmond Ridder as a developmental player. He has a lot of nice traits as a dual threat player. But for him to be as successful as possible, he needs to stay in front of the chains with his ability to run the football, and Doak's ability to run the football. If they fall behind early, we're going to see how far Ridder has developed as a passer. And I think that if they do get them into those tough situations, UCF can pull off the upset today.
All right, there you have it. The state of football. Nope, it's the state of football weekdays, 9 a.m. Eastern is what I meant to say. This is the NFL Draft Tailgate Show, 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturdays. Of course, brought to you by the NFLDraftBible.com. Become a disciple today. Make sure you reserve your hard copy. We will only be offering that, unfortunately, for another week or so. And that's because of some good news that we'll have next week. So stay tuned for the show throughout the week for updates. Ric Serritella, David Turner, John Murphy, Ryan Roberts here with you on a Saturday morning, getting it jump started. And we're taking you around the league. We just recapped Cincinnati at UCF, which will be 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. The previous game was Kentucky at Alabama. That's the SEC Network, 4 p.m. Liberty at NC State. ESPN 3, 7:30 p.m. tonight. Appalachian State at number 15, Coastal Carolina. That one on ESPN 2 at noon Eastern. If you're just tuning in and you want to go back and hear any of those games, the archive is immediately available. We're streaming live on Twitter, Periscope, Instagram, Facebook. If you have a question, jump on in the chat room. All our chat room people, where are you at today? I want to see. I want to talk to you. I want to be interactive. Let's go. Of course, Friday night Scout School Business Edition seminar one last night. David Turner and Ryan Roberts there. You can still get on board and sign up for the future classes there, NFLDraftBible.com. Along with the Baldy Breakdown seminars, we have a promo code, Familia50, Familia50. For that one there, use that. It's a November to remember. Hopefully our producer is paying attention in the chat room, doing our job here. Samantha behind the scenes. Shout out to that. Hey, get down on it. Yeah, I see you. I can see you. How about the next game, number 20, USC at Utah. We go over to some West Coast flavor in your ear, Ryan Roberts. What do you got here? This one is going to happen. There was some questionability here leading up to it. USC last week playing at 9 a.m. local time last week goes back to the usual suspect, primetime, 10:30 p.m. Eastern here.
Yep, and we get to look at the 2022 quarterback class today. We're talking about Keaton Slovis, quarterback from USC, guy that works with Kurt Warner, a kid who at 19 years old has some of the best technical approach that I've seen for a kid his age. He's just so compact, so deliberate. He really has a nice understanding of the game already at such a young age. I am a big fan of Keaton Slovis, and he's got a lot of talent to work with at wide receiver there. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the youngest of the St. Brown brothers. He's got Tyler Vaughn's on the boundary of the perimeter. He's got kind of that back shoulder game, does some nice work towards the sideline. And then Drake London, who's kind of a little thicker physical wide receiver who breaks a ton of tackles. He's kind of the after-catch player there for USC. And then they got Elijah Vera Tucker now playing left tackle, who played guard last year. And I'll be very honest, I saw the traits, but I didn't love his tape at guard last year. I thought it was very hit or miss, and he is looking outstanding so far at left tackle. So he's going to be a little bit of an odd evaluation because he doesn't have the size that you would typically want at left tackle, but he just looks so much more comfortable outside for whatever reason. Is that just added experience? Maybe he just would have been more comfortable inside as well, just the year of experience in the offseason. I don't know. We'll have to really kind of gauge that throughout the draft process, see what Elijah Vera Tucker can bring. But if you've watched USC over the last couple of weeks, people have been calling for Clay Helton's job, it seemed like every week for the last three years now. And he just does not look like the offense is always enthused. The offense is not off to the best start in the world. They have a ton of talent on defense as well. Drake Jackson's a young sophomore who's very talented. They have Gayo Teite, the linebacker number 1, who's very talented. They have the 2 safeties, Hufanga and Palamola, who are very talented as well. There are guys everywhere on this team, but for some reason, they have not looked sharp, but they do come into the game 2-0, number 20 ranking, taking on Utah, who is in their first game. This is not your typical Utah team over the last couple of years. There's been legitimate NFL prospects. They do have Devin Lloyd at linebacker, who I think has some nice things to work with. They have Jake Bentley, who transferred over from South Carolina. I have missed it with Jake Bentley for the last 3 years, so I'm not going to jump on any bandwagons here. Will Jake Bentley even start today? I think USC is going to take this game. It's hard to count off a Utah team, which I always respect with Kyle Whittingham, who obviously puts out a great product there, always develops his players very well. But I'm going to take USC. I think just offensively, they're going to have a little much in against a Utah team playing in their first game. What's the offense going to look like? Lost a lot of players. Not really sure what we're going to see. So I'm going to take USC, Keaton Slovis in the victory today.
Of course you are.
Of course I am.
He's not only a client, he's also the president of the Keaton Slovis fan club. That is Ryan Roberts' recap of the USC at Utah Utes. And he mentioned Jake Bentley, who, at the very least should have a shot to be a coach after he hangs up the cleats. A 3-time captain there at South Carolina, named a team captain for Utah, but conspicuously not named the starter by head coach Kyle Whittingham. So what's that all about? A little game of chess or gamesmanship, or we shall see from Kyle Whittingham. Good to see Brian Beasley, Daniel Cassidy, all our chat room peoples giving us shout outs. We really appreciate the love and support and you guys tuning in each and every weekday here on the NFL Draft Tailgate Show. Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern, of course. The State of Football, 9 a.m. weekdays, lining up the best guests in football industry here, brought to you by the NFLDraftBible.com. We appreciate the love and support. It means so much to us, truly. Okay, will Chip Kelly have the love and support when he returns to Eugene today? Oh, by the way, that USC-Utah game, ESPN 10:30 p.m., UCLA at Oregon, ESPN 2, 3:30 p.m., the number 11th ranked Ducks, David, they seem to have just, kind of keep this locomotive running since Chip Kelly is gone. You have to imagine as he returns here, that travel, that journey back to Eugene, he must be thinking to himself, what could have been had I just stayed?
Well, you know what? He's limping in with the 26th overall offense and 31st overall defense. His red zone offense is tied for 109th. His red zone defense is, limped in there looking like, the poster child for score on me with 119th, ranked defense in red zone. So, it's not like he's returning with this. And then Dorian Thompson might not even play today. So I think he's out. So, this isn't going to be a pleasurable experience. This is going to be like the 300. I am not your king. You are not going to enjoy this type situation. So, it just is what it is. They have a couple prospects to watch on UCLA. If they do turn it into a game, Felton, the running back, is really a nice little prospect that you got to go in and look at. I know that there's some conversation about a defensive lineman out of UCLA, which I'm not even Osa, and I'm not going to even try the last name because I'll kill it.
Odigizua. Come on, David.
Thank you. I
It's
appreciate the
Odigizua.
linguistics expert over there being able to pronounce it. Thank you very much. But he's only 6'1" and like 280 pounds. So what is he really going to be the next level if he's not a 3 technique? What is he? Because I don't know what he's going to have. I got to watch more on him to make sure that, we don't miss on him. But Caleb Johnson, is probably their best defender. In my opinion right now, he's 6 foot, 237 pounds. He's a guy who can translate, I think, to the NFL level well, and he's already got 2.5 sacks and interception. But when you flip it over to Oregon, I mean, this is a team that that's really built well. Like you said, they haven't missed a beat since Ships left. They got the seventh offense in the country, 6th in rushing offense. Big part of the 6th rushing offense is a running back that they have here, CJ Verdell. I mean, Verdell is a real deal running back. He's got great balance, body control, incredible feet, and good little explosion bursts out of the contact. So, him and Jalen Reed, the receiver they have there, who's got 9 receptions for 128 yards already, are interesting on the offense. as far as like, skill players. And, this is also a team that is really good on third down, both sides of the ball. They're first on third down conversions on offense and 7th on getting off the field on third down. So this is a well-coached team up there that knows how to get off the field, both on defense on third down and stay on the field on third down for offense. I really like the guys up front for Oregon in the middle of their defense, Scott and Folalui. I mean, I think these two guys are big push pocket guys. Like I said, I think on the show yesterday, they remind me of Star and KK that we had in Carolina. They're able to push the pocket right up in the quarterback's face. So, these are some prospects and some guys to take a look at on Oregon. And I think Oregon's going to just walk away with this one.
Yeah, Jordan Scott, just a squatty, athletic space eater there, making plays in the interior of the Oregon defensive line. UCLA, a couple of guys getting the call to Mobile there, though, the Demetric Felton and Osa Ideguizi. You see what I did there? But Ryan's all about, just say it fast, say it confidently, and nobody will know.
Or say it correctly.
Go ahead. Hit us with the pronunciation, Ryan. Osa?
Odigizua.
All right. So he's going to get the call to Mobile. And then Demetric Felton, you talk about a guy like Antonio Gibson, who I think we invited him to the NFL PA Bowl as a running back. He got invited to the Senior Bowl as a wide receiver, I believe. And then the Redskins, now you see how they're using him. Well, Felton, he converts from wide receiver to running back. And again, another guy you'll see, like, how will they showcase him down in Mobile? If there is a Senior Bowl, it'll be an interesting kind of scenario with Felton. Again, UCLA at Oregon, ESPN 2 at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Over to the Big 12. We've got the Battle of Bedlam, Oklahoma State at number 18, Oklahoma. The Cowboys here actually ranked higher than the Sooners, but the Sooners, I believe, the favorite. This one in prime time, arguably your best game of the evening of the primetime slate. ABC, 7:30 p.m. John, what do you got for us here in this one?
Yeah, so here's Oklahoma's chance to prove, especially defensively against a ranked opponent. Can you hold somebody under 50? Early in the season, that was not the case. They gave up all kinds of yards, points through the air, on the ground. If you could do it, you could do it very easily against Oklahoma's defense. K-State, Iowa State, even in that game against Texas, it was not any kind of defensive performance. Now they've kind of played the back end of the Big 12 opponents, and those teams have struggled offensively to kind of compete, with them. Spencer Rattler is starting to kind of come into his own. They've kind of changed around some of their offense. Right now they have a freshman receiver who's been their number one guy, and all of a sudden 191 yards later in the last 2 weeks, we got a running back out of Vegas on the draft board, big boy Ramondre Stevenson, who's got some nice height, weight, speed. This is the kid that is kind of estimated at 4.55. He's been anywhere from 225 to 240. So all of a sudden, here's kind of a late bloomer, that has kind of taken the ground game, by control there for them. So this is a team that is very well built for, if Oklahoma wins today, there's nobody left on the schedule. It's 8-2. And you did that 8-2 with a freshman quarterback and all of your main prospects really being underclassmen. Probably the highest guy, if he were to declare, Creed Humphrey has kind of mid-late round, first round offensive line ability as a center. And especially in this day and age, if you find a really good one, you're going to take them. That's probably their guy. On the flip side, you're Oklahoma State. This is where you got to punch it home, because, again, you have 3 games after this that are all kind of layups, and you're going to be almost double-digit favorites in all of them after here. You both have young quarterbacks. Your guy Sanders kind of coming off an injury. He's kind of had an up-and-down season. But you have Hubbard in the backfield. You have Tywan Wallace, who's a top 5 or 8 senior receiver in this class. You have Tevin Jenkins, so you have your own potential first-round offensive lineman. this is a game that you should be able to put up points and then have your upperclassmen be the reason that you seal the deal. If you don't seal the deal this year against Oklahoma, I go back to the drawing board and you might need to cut the mullet, right? So, I'm saying I haven't seen it yet, and both of them have really done well when they play the lesser of the teams and struggle against anybody ranked or anybody that can put up, an equal contest, to them. So it's on the road. I'm going to say the home team in that scenario, takes care of business, and the mullet, goes back to the drawing board. You're no longer 40. You might be a man, but
Yeah, well, he tends to hang on to that job there. They love him over there in Oklahoma State, and I don't know, man. I think if he can't pull it off this year, when is he ever going to pull it off? Right?
They have top 10 everything. If you know anything about that program or the university itself, whatever you have or whatever you need or whatever you would want, they have access to it as good as anybody in the country. There's nobody that's outspending them if they need it. There's nobody with better, cleaner, newer facility. Like, they have everything there. It's just, hey, when you look at the trending and how this is trending,
yeah,
the Texas games for both of these teams, I think kind of tells you where this game kind of ends up. Because both of them had momentum. Texas should have beat Oklahoma, should have lost the other one. Instead, it went the opposite way. And for me, with Oklahoma State and this class of guys, you're exactly correct. Find a way to finish these big games off. Because on a yearly basis, they're 9-1, right? They're always right there in the mix. And the funny, and you got to give Lincoln Riley, a lot of this credit. But if you think about it, they win this game today, they probably kind of swap spots. Gets Oklahoma in the vicinity, in the shadow of the top 10. The last two games are, I think, West Virginia, Baylor. Okay, Lincoln Riley could dress and beat those two teams. And then you're going to get a bowl game. So if Oklahoma takes care of business today, wins those two tomato can games, and wins their bowl game, odds are they're right about top 10-ish with a club that has no business being anywhere in the top 20.
Well, you mentioned the Bedlam rivalry. I think it's 5 in a row, 15 of the last 17, and like 83 and 17 all time. So, again, I think the Cowboys might rise up to the occasion here. But you mentioned the resources for that program. The great late Boone T. Pickens, his pockets run deep for that program in Oklahoma State for sure. When you mention resources, okay,
Don't forget what they say. For it to become a real rivalry, you actually got to win a couple of them.
Fair enough. A geography rivalry at the very least. ABC 7:30 p.m. I'll be tuned into that one. One of 3 games with ranked opponents on the docket. Another one being number 10 Wisconsin at number 19 Northwestern. ABC 3:30 p.m. Eastern. David Turner. We talked a little bit about this one on yesterday's State of Football program. Let's dive a little bit deeper into some of the prospects in this matchup.
Well, long-term prospect, redshirt freshman Graham Mertz is a guy you got to take a good gander at here. The Wisconsin's quarterback. He's really throwing the ball well. He's got over a 200 passer efficiency, and for a redshirt freshman coming in and starting like that, it's really impressive. I like the wide receiver out of Wisconsin, Jake Ferguson. But you can't. Let's give some a little credit here. This team has the number 1 or number 9 rushing offense, and it's partly due to this fullback they got, Mason Stoke. I mean, Mason opens up some big holes when he jams it up in there, and the big guys like him, the fullback's a dying breed, so I wanted to give him a little love this morning, let him know that I'm noticing him. I see you, big fella. I see you up in there clearing the way for these running backs. You're laying some wood and just clearing out them linebackers. So I got you. You got a little love here this morning on the Tailgate Show. I love the big Slobanakas. But, it's really this offensive line and Mason Stokes that are opening up these wide gaping holes for this offense to run the ball as well as they are. You know, you figure they got the 9th best rushing offense, but the 101st best passing offense. So, you know, while they're efficient, they're not the most potent passing offense. And, you know, the coach here is done a great job. I mean, this is Paul Chris, right? And he's done a great job with this defense. They're the number 1 overall defense, 5th best rushing defense, number 1 red zone defense. They're the team with the fewest penalties per game. Time of possession, they're leading that for the country at 41.52 seconds for time of possession during the game. So I know I talk a lot about the team, but Wisconsin is a team game. This is when you want to watch a whole team play together, the defense, the offense, everybody. I like to watch Wisconsin because their offensive line is really good. Their defense just plays solid all the way around. And again, you got a really efficient run game here. So this is old school slobber knocking, you know, Wisconsin defense here and game. Northwestern, again, they're doing their thing on defense. You know, they have the 3rd best passing efficiency defense, 7th in scoring defense, and 7th in rush defense. So you're really going to see 2 Titans with the Northwestern defense and Wisconsin offense line up and battle each other today when they are on the field together. Who's going to win that battle is going to be interesting. Prospects over here on the Northwestern side, you know, you're going to look at guys like linebacker Blake Gallagher, 34 tackles already, and then you got a guy in Ucla, who was a sophomore defensive end, but he's going to be on the come in a few years because he's already up to 3 sacks this year.
Canadian guy, I believe.
A Canadian A. Yeah, he's a Canadian A. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you got some interesting prospects here coming up, and also Chris Bergen leads the team in tackles. He's a guy who's got 36 tackles already. When you're watching these guys, you know, look, I can't pronounce. Ryan, help me with this last name. Ramon something Bowman.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. He's a redshirt senior wide receiver. He's interesting as a wide receiver. Again, Mr. Bowen, I'm apologizing. I butcher names all the time, and yours this is the latest one. So
the butcher shop.
Yeah.
The butcher shop is open.
And then if you're going to look at running back here, look at Isaiah Bozer, the running back out of Northwestern, who's an interesting guy for next year. He's a junior.
Well, I'm going with Wisconsin here strictly because of my guy from Newark, New Jersey, Brick City, Jalen Brick City Burger. You saw him make his debut last week due to the COVID. And you know what? Wisconsin's getting healthy now. You mentioned Paul Chris there has done a great job navigating through the COVID because the Badgers have been badgered by the pandemic here, and so now they continue to get healthy. You mentioned Gallagher and Fisher; they're going to be roaming the field sideline to sideline. Stokey, who you mentioned, I would love to try to find a way to get him into the NFLPA, virtual event, and if he doesn't get that Senior Bowl invite. You saw him make a play there in the passing game last week. I think he had a receiving touchdown, so kind of reminiscent of Alec Ingold, kind of what he's doing here at the NFL level. So, all right, well, hey,
he's almost the same size as Rathman. He's just a little bit shorter, but he's about the same size as Rathman. And to me, he moves similarly, and he's a guy that's kind of cut from that mold. That's why I get so excited about him, because I like those old school, fullbacks.
We haven't seen a Tom Rathman since Tom Rathman, have we? Really, truly? I don't think we have.
Mike Allscott, maybe a little bit. Mike Allscott a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if Allstott's blocking like Rathman. I don't know if Rathman's running like Allstott, but I don't know if Allstott's blocking like Rathman.
Juice Check from San Francisco is pretty damn good. They're kind of similar a little bit. They're like West Coast style fullbacks.
Yeah, I still think Rathman was a battering ram in the blocking game. I don't know. He could catch like Juszczyk. He could run like Allstott. I don't think he caught like Juszczyk or ran like Allstott, but he just did a little bit of everything so well. And hey, it doesn't help with the supporting cast like that. I mean, Brent Jones and John Taylor and Jerry Rice and
Roger Craig.
Craig.
Don't get me wrong. They were stacked and loaded to the gills, but This Stokey kid, I really like him. I'm going to hype him up when you give me a chance to talk about Wisconsin because, their offensive line gets a lot of hype, which they should. But Stokey just goes in there and he just cleans out that last linebacker, opens up that hole. He has a nice kick out. Like you said, he can catch a little bit out of the backfield, make some stuff happen in the passing game. He's one of those fullbacks that I hope doesn't get lost in the mix and he makes it because he's got a lot of talent.
Hey,
when we were on Friday Night Scout School a few weeks when we broke down fullbacks, he was actually the homework assignment. So Mason Stokey is getting a lot of publicity from the NFL Draft Bible for sure.
And I know, make America great again, make fullbacks great again. David Turner's all about it. So there you go. Wisconsin at Northwestern, ABC, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. The game of the week here, the last and final game against ranked opponents, number 9 Indiana. The Hoosiers looking for a Hail Mary here, traveling into Columbus, number 3 Ohio State. Game of the week, Fox, noon Eastern. Ryan Roberts, take it away.
Yeah, so it's obviously been a great story so far. Top 10 ranking, number 9 team in the country. Now Indiana, Michael Penix Jr. at quarterback, Ty Freifogel at wide receiver, Walt Filer at wide receiver. It's an exciting team. Stevie Scott, the running back as well. Defensively, they have a young defensive back named Tywan Mullen, who's the younger brother of Mullen that plays over with the Raiders now, that played at Clemson. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on. This is hopefully going to be a fun matchup, but it's going to be an ugly matchup because Ohio State is going to beat the doors off of Indiana today, unfortunately. Justin Fields is going to keep it rolling. Chris Olave is going to keep it rolling. That offensive line with Josh Myers and Wyatt Davis up front, two of the best interior offensive linemen potentially in the 2021 draft. Also have Baron Browning, Pete Werner. Sean Wade's going to match up against those talented wide receivers. Ohio State is going to firmly show why they're the number 3 team currently in all of college football. And the Indiana story is going to fall down a little bit today because they just don't have the weapons. They don't have the overall talent on a position-by-position basis to compete with Ohio State for a full game.
However, they are the number 9 ranked team in the nation, John. Trevor Lawrence, we mentioned the Clemson game being out of action. Is this the signature moment for Justin Fields? Is this the statement game where he now takes the lead for that QB1 conversation?
They're playing Indiana.
Who's playing very well.
The best team in Indiana is off this week, on vacation, on a bye. They're playing Indiana.
And I'm happy, bro. David Turner.
If you're not making a statement game against Indiana.
Tom Allen's a listener of the show now.
They're going to pull up their Buckeyes and put it right on their face. This game is going to be an ass whipping. I mean, this is showing you got rated because of a COVID season, and now we will put you back to socially distancing from the top 25 like your program has been for the last 40 years.
Oh, all I did was ask about Justin Fields.
Wow, I know. I mean, this morning. He's just yesterday he was like all woolly and live, and today he's just venom. He's just like,
You know what it is? You know what it is? Thanksgiving's approaching. John's already on the clock. He's like, these people are coming over with it. He's already on the clock.
You want Justin Fields to make a statement game against Indiana?
Well, where is the statement game coming from then?
I mean, it's winning a national championship.
Okay.
If you're Ohio State, the Ohio State, if you go there, I guess, your statement game is either Alabama, take them out, Notre Dame, if you play them, take them out, and if you get a one-on-one against Trevor Lawrence, that's where you can make your statement game and show who's who in that opportunity. To me, this is show up and we get to the stadium. Oh, who are we playing today? Oh, it's Indiana. Okay, thanks for telling me who are.
Well, will the Murphy household be serving nuts on Thanksgiving, by the way?
Well, we'll be serving as big a load of them as they're going to get served today, let me tell you. I'm telling you, hey, Coach Shaw, congratulations for everything you've done. You better have a hell of a speech for next week when, following up this mess. I just don't see it. I think they have a talent. Here's the difference, and Ryan mentioned it greatly. Indiana has, a good up and coming quarterback, Stevie Scott, good running back. The thing is, then the next guy, right? Like the other guy. Now they have the two receivers, but you're playing against a secondary that should step up and really show here who they are, right? So the guy who has the most money on the line is really not Justin Fields, it's Sean Wade, because you don't match up today against Freifogel, and don't get your ass whipped the way you did against Penn State in those one-on-one matchups, or else suddenly you're going to not be seen as a versatile defender. You're going to be seen as a nickel only if you get roasted again here. So now there's a matchup I could see them winning. But Indiana doesn't run the ball well enough, and that offensive line to kind of take the game, in hand. That's where you have to build as a program, is the building blocks is the front and then the front seven on the other side. Ohio State's third stringers and scout team are the equivalent of what Indiana has, as the backups, right? There's scout team guys playing at Ohio State that would be lettering at Indiana, right? So we got to just take in a perspective how this has all come about. If we're playing this game in a regular fall week, minus COVID and whatever, this line is 40, right? Come on now, let's be real. They're number 9 in the country, and the line has fluctuated from 21 to 24, is probably about like 20 and a half, and stuff. Come on now. You just got to keep this in perspective of where Indiana's program is at and what you were thinking of Indiana's program prior to the last 2 or 3 weeks, and literally this much away from Penn State winning. Okay? So now let's get in perspective. This isn't just not blowout central to get to the 9th ranking in the country, and it's still Ohio State, right?
Come on, Rick.
No difference. You sounded the alarm earlier that can Kentucky get through the anthem without Alabama having the lead?
Cue up the siren.
The siren is going to be, no disrespect, because we've had 9 of them in the past 2 months. The sirens you're alerting for these two teams is for like a tornado, hurricane, natural disaster coming, because Kentucky and Indiana combined are going to give up about 100 today and probably 1,000 yards of offense.
Well, Tom Allen, I know you won't tune into the show anymore after this, but you're invited. You're invited to the Murphy household for Thanksgiving, but you will be on the clock, sir, once you arrive, John.
If you roll one loss,
John takes his stopwatch out once you arrive.
Hey, one loss Indiana team, or a one-loss Northwestern team, or one-loss Wisconsin team might get to the Rose Bowl. So you're not out of Rose Bowl consideration after today, but you are out of communication when it comes to any consideration of being a top 10, and that's not happening. To me, there's at least 6 of the top 10 teams that would roll these guys by 20 plus.
The NFL Draft Tailgate Show, getting your Saturday morning started off on the proper foot here. Every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, of course, the State of Football weekdays, 9 a.m. Eastern. It's been another hour of power, brought to you by the NFLDraftBible.com. Become a disciple today. Go all access. Get a free copy of the book Scout Speak. If you sign up, we still have a few books that we're sending out. You'll also get the hard copy, which will no longer be available after next week. We'll explain more during the State of Football announcements. But if you want the hard copy edition, make sure you sign up. Go all access. Take advantage of that. Reserve your copy. Of course, we got Friday Night Scout School, diving into the business side of football. Each and every Friday night, there's 4 more seminars, I believe, left, 4 or 5. You can get on board with that over on the website. Baldy's breakdown seminars, I think they are moving into linebackers, will be the next one there. Of course, we got the Marvin Jones free agent database. If you're into the consulting side of things, we got NFL Draft Bible Consulting, who also, by the way, works in association with Maverick Sports Consulting. I'm sure he'll touch base on that in just a minute. Of course, the Mav Sports Take podcast. The mailbag is on the website, dropping it like it's hot. Again, just so much great content at the NFLDraftBible.com. It's going to get so much better. I really promised you that. And a big reason why is because of our director of scouting, Ryan Roberts, here joining us on the NFL Draft Tailgate Show. Parting shot for our listening audience at home, right?
Yeah, I was just happy that Notre Dame's off this week, so I didn't have to hear David pick against him for the 12th straight week. So it was a good week. I hope everyone, though, getting ready for Thanksgiving, has a great week. I'm going to be off all week, so I'll be on the morning show with Ric Serritella, breaking it down, and John and all those guys over there. So I'm excited to be on this week. Just wishing everybody a happy holiday, and I hope it's a great one despite the uncertain and scary times still happening.
Absolutely. Keep it safe, keep it smart, but enjoy it. Hopefully you are able to get some family time in during the holiday season. I know some of us have been on the road traveling, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to navigate through that situation. And of course, David Turner has been on location across the nation, probably more than anybody on the panel, paving the way, providing opportunities for street free agents, something that is of great value during the pandemic. But he joins us here each and every Saturday, again, 10 a.m. Eastern on the NFL Draft Tailgate Show. Maverick Sports Consulting CEO David Turner, parting shot for the people here.
Well, I just want to thank everybody, for tuning in and giving us your Saturday morning ear, so we can pay attention to, some fun conversation and some surly southern Louisiana cockiness this morning. It was great. John was in rare form, but I just want to thank everybody for paying attention and being around and giving us an opportunity to share this Saturday morning with them. Stay safe during this travel season. Don't get out of hand with too much here. Remember who's around you. So therefore, we keep everybody safe and sound. And if you are interested in Maverick Sports Consulting, come over, check our website out. We're really here to help you maximize what you're doing in your life, whether it's in sports or just in business in general. Help you build a team, help you do some evaluation of your current team, whether that's just in business team or is that's on the field team. It's what we're an expert at, is building teams and designing winning organizations. So come to Maverick Sports Consulting, check us out, and let us know how we can help you during the holiday season in 2021.
Yeah, definitely a vast landscape of experience. David Turner navigating through all levels of football, from executive side, the scouting trail side, and everything else in between, the GM side. And of course, if you need consulting on Monopoly, David, I see you out there. Hit me up. I'm the Monopoly king. I can help you out there. I know you have.
We had a broad last night. Olaf's in the lead.
That Olaf, man, he's the underrated member of the Frozen Academy. Just when you think it's all about Elsa, here comes Olaf.
Olaf, a new Monopoly player. I'm telling you, check it out. He's a new Monopoly player, man.
I'll tell you, we have too much fun here on the NFL Draft Tailgate Show. Hopefully we got your morning started correctly. Of course, we get your morning started correctly weekdays, 9 a.m. Eastern. And I know, John, you're excited to have Ryan Roberts join us all throughout the week next week. But parting shot for the people here on this fine Saturday morning.
Oh, yeah, just waiting for version 2.0 of his clickbait mock draft. So can't wait for that. How many more teammates can he put together and try to get you to click on it just to read that they're not on the right teams, not in the right selections? I mean, hey, you gotta give him a break. It's early. The
disrespect continues here. The disrespect.
He's just so early this morning. Someone's missing his coffee. What's going on?
I think you mentioned it the best. If there's any relatives that are listening to the show, especially my on the other side of the family, my kids' grandparents, anybody on their mom's side of the family, forget the address. Just don't write it down. Disremember the address on Thursday. Quarantine, keep to yourselves, and stay in whatever other southern state you're at. Don't bother getting in the car. Okay, just don't do it. Forget to gas up. forget to go shopping, and we'll be just fine, and we can celebrate at another time. I'll be just fine without you. If we were looking for something positive to go down today, and not wishing it to be an injury that occurs, but if somehow in the fourth quarter of a close Cincinnati UCF game, even though I just picked Cincinnati, if somehow Dillon Gabriel could get kidnapped for the final 5 minutes and Mackenzie Milton could come into that game and win it at home, and if not, can we get a Mackenzie Milton side, kind of next week against USF in a game that's not going to mean anything, and USF can't stop anybody anyway, so no chance of him getting tackled by their defense. I mean, if we're all in on the Alex Smith story, you should double down for yourself as a college football fan, as a football fan in general, and watch the rehab and watch the dedication of this kid to make his way all the way back to the fact that he's dressing at the college level after what he's been through, and you see his injury is equally horrific to the injury that we saw to Alex Smith, equally as horrific as Zach Miller's injury, the tight end that got hurt here in New Orleans playing for the Bears. And this kid has done nothing but grind physically to get back, but has never shown a sign to the club that what Dillon Gabriel has done, what they've done without him in the 2-year period of time. He's there supporting them. Here goes a Heisman Trophy candidate prior to his injury, who for the most part, his reward for coming back has been to run the scout team, and has done it at basically a Heisman level. When you ask his teammates and his coaching staff, you want to do yourself a favor, go watch prior to Thanksgiving the story and the rehab that this kid has put himself through, and that'll be the one thing that I would recommend to all of us, because we're also thankful for being a part of this business and getting to do football on an everyday basis. Even if we have to have Ryan Roberts on with us, it's still a good week, even when he joins us multiple times. But do yourself a favor and go check out that story on Mackenzie Milton, and tell me you don't come back, being a fan of that kid and not wanting just to see him have one more moment, at the college level, as it will not be shocking to see that kid be successful in life the way he's handled this situation.
See, folks, John really does have a heart. Maybe not for the in-laws.
Or for Ryan Roberts.
Well, maybe not for Ryan Roberts.
Not
Or
for
my mock draft.
Not for Clickbait Jr.
He's got Hawaii on his mind, because Mackenzie really was the next in line after that Mariota to Hawaii connection. Mackenzie Milton was out of that area. And believe it or not, Dillon Gabriel from the islands as well, keeping that Hawaii to the NFL pipelines going. But at the very least, he has a career in coaching again. One of those guys that is just very cerebral. And hopefully, hey, let's bring him out, take the kneel down, get him in, get him out safe. But I hope you stay safe out there. During
if not, you can come do mock drafts for us, because there's not a lot to go for. Version 2 will have 5 guys from Notre Dame.
There you go.
I only have one Notre Dame guy in the first one, John. Come on now.
Working your way up, though. You're working your way up. I can tell.
And a few Notre Dame guys getting the call to the Senior Bowl, Mobile. Of course, next week we'll talk about that on Tuesday with Russell Landy. Of course, Monday is the NFL recap with Ralph Ventry. Wednesday, we're working on a good guest. I think we may have Jeff Benedict at some point with his new book. I just got it in the mail, The Dynasty. Some good, man, look at that's a lot of content, a lot of material on the Patriots Dynasty. So we'll pop him on next week. Of course, Thursday, we've got Dane Vandernat of the NFL PA Bowl and Neil Stratton of Inside the League. Fridays is always a Football Friday affair with Lawrence Johnson, 7 City Shop Talk, Woo World Radio. Of course, we'll pop David Turner on at some point, I'm sure, throughout the week. Ryan Roberts joining us each and every day on the State of Football, your new home for real football talk in the mornings. Hopefully, this is your new home for real NFL draft talk on Saturday mornings. We'll be back at it again next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We appreciate all the love and support, everybody who tuned in, chimed in, and we'll catch you Monday morning, everybody.